I woke up with this weird feeling in my chest, the kind that makes you freeze before your eyes even open. Something was off. The sheets were tugged awkwardly, the air smelled like cologne I didn't wear, and there was movement. Soft, rhythmic movement. My eyes adjusted, and what I saw wasn't a dream. It wasn't even a nightmare. It was real. Right there, just 2 feet away from me, my wife, Jessica, was straddling some half-naked, tattooed idiot whose face I'd never seen before. They didn't even notice I was awake. She was too busy whispering garbage into his ear, giggling like a teenager, her hair falling in waves across his chest. And him? He had his hands all over her like he owned her. Like I didn't exist. I felt like the air got punched out of me. For a second, I couldn't move. My brain refused to believe it. But my body didn't wait for approval. In one explosive move, I shot up from the bed and clocked the guy so hard he fell sideways, a sickening crunch filling the room as his mouth exploded in blood. Teeth flew across the hardwood like spilled dice. Jessica screamed, not in fear of me. No, but in panic for him. For the guy. That's when it hit me harder than any punch I've ever thrown. She wasn't even ashamed. She wasn't sorry. She wrapped a sheet around herself and bolted downstairs, barefoot and frantic. Not a word to me. Not, I'm sorry. Not, it's not what it looks like. Nothing. Just ran like the coward she is. I didn't chase her at first. I stood there, chest heaving, trying to process what the hell had just happened in my own damn home. Our wedding photo was still on the dresser. That fake smile she wore suddenly made sense. It was never real. She was never real. I looked at the guy on the floor, whimpering through a mess of red, and for a second, I thought about finishing it. But he wasn't worth it. He was just a symptom. The disease was hiding in the basement. So I followed her. Step by step, each creak of the stairs like a countdown to the moment I'd lose the last piece of the man I was before tonight. When I got down there, the silence was suffocating. No crying. No pleading. Just stillness. Jessica. I called out, my voice raw. No answer. I scanned the room empty. But I knew her. She had a coward's instinct. The closet. I grabbed the door handle and flung it open. And what I saw made my stomach twist. There she was, not crying. Not hiding. Just staring at something in her hand. Her face pale. Her body shaking in a way that had nothing to do with fear of me. On the closet floor, half covered by one of my old gym bags, was a gun. My gun. The one I kept locked away. She looked up, her eyes wild. I wasn't going to use it. I swear. I didn't know he was going to come tonight. Save it, I snapped. The room suddenly felt colder than the air should have allowed. That's when I noticed something else. The basement window was cracked open, but there was no breeze. No sound of the wind. Just the faintest drip. My eyes moved to the corner, and that's where I saw Karma. A second guy. Slumped. Unmoving. His shirt soaked in red. Not the same one from upstairs. What the hell did you do? I whispered. Jessica's lip trembled. He found out about me and Tyler. Said he'd tell you everything. I didn't mean for it to happen. He just wouldn't stop yelling, and he grabbed me, and you grabbed the gun, I finished, rage mixing with confusion. My whole life had just flipped on its head. I woke up to betrayal. Now I was looking at something way worse. And this was only the beginning. There was a pause. One of those sickening silences where the walls feel like they're leaning in, waiting to see who'll break first. I stood in the basement doorway, staring at Jessica, my wife, holding my damn gun with trembling hands and makeup smeared across her cheeks like war paint. She was on the floor, half wrapped in a sheet like she didn't even have time to dress before things spiraled. Her eyes darted between me and the body in the corner like she was trying to measure which threat was more immediate, the guy she just screwed in our bed, or the guy she accidentally, or not so accidentally, shot in the basement. Who is he? I asked, voice low, steady, but barely holding back the storm boiling inside me. She hesitated, then said, his name's Brian. He was someone I used to see. Before you. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of how stupid I'd been. Before me. I snapped. He looks like he hasn't left in years, Jess. She flinched, and I could see the wheels turning. Jessica wasn't the type to admit anything. She lied the way most people breathe it casually, constantly, without remorse. It wasn't like that, she started. He reached out a few months ago, said he missed me. I thought it was just harmless talking. But then Tyler, I interrupted. The one upstairs. You know what's funny? I didn't even get his name while I was knocking his teeth out. She had the audacity to look offended. You didn't have to hit him. It's not like. Don't, I growled. Don't even finish that sentence. Her mouth shut, But her eyes didn't stop screaming. She wasn't sorry. She was just caught. I stepped into the room. Brian's body was still in the corner, blood soaking into the carpet like ink on a page that couldn't be erased. You were going to tell me? I asked. Eventually. I didn't mean for it to get this far. That line. That tired, pathetic line. Like she'd tripped and fallen on two different guys by accident. I crouched beside the closet, looked her in the eyes. So what now? You killed one guy, screwed another, and I'm just supposed to. What? Go upstairs and pretend this was a dream. Jessica's eyes filled with tears, but again, they weren't the kind that came from guilt. They were the kind that showed up when a manipulator realizes their script isn't working anymore. We can fix this, she said softly. You and me. No one has to know. We move on. Clean this up. Forget tonight happened. I laughed again, but this time it sounded like choking. You think I'm cleaning up your mess? After you spit on everything we had? It didn't mean anything, she shouted. I was bored, okay. I needed something different, something exciting. You've been so dull lately, always working, always tired. The words hit like bullets. And suddenly it wasn't just anger anymore, it was grief. Grief for the man I'd been trying to be. Grief for the nights I stayed late at work to make her life easier. Grief for the guy who planned anniversary trips and brought flowers home for no reason. All for this. Jessica stood now, the gun still in her hand. You're not leaving me, she said quietly. We're going to figure this out. Together. She looked crazy. That perfect little mask of hers, the one she wore for our friends, our family, it was gone now. Her voice trembled, but it wasn't fear. It was obsession. And suddenly, I realized I wasn't safe anymore. Not emotionally. Not physically. And I wasn't going to wait to be the next body in the corner. I backed away slowly, 1 foot at a time, never breaking eye contact. Jessica still had the gun in her hand, not pointed at me, not yet, but close enough to make my skin crawl. Her grip was shaking. Her eyes were wild. And worst of all, her mouth was calm, like she was negotiating a real estate deal instead of standing over a dead body in our basement. Put it down, Jess, I said, low and steady, like I was talking to a frightened animal. You're not thinking straight. She tilted her head. You think I'm crazy. I said carefully, you're scared. You've done something irreversible, and now you're cornered. That doesn't make you crazy. That makes you dangerous. She laughed, and it wasn't sweet. It was sharp, dry, a sound I'd never heard from her before. You always thought you were smarter, didn't you? Always had that tone, that I know better look on your face. Even now. I kept my hands visible, palms open. I'm not here to judge. I just want to know the truth. She looked at the gun, then at me. For a second, I thought she might give it up. But instead, she said something that turned my blood to ice. You know. Brian wasn't the first. Everything slowed. I was careful, she added. Not stupid like tonight. But you were never around, and I needed something real. You mean someone who lies and sneaks around behind their husband's back? I snapped. Her face twisted. I mean someone who doesn't treat me like wallpaper. I stared at her in disbelief. I gave you everything, Jess. No, she hissed. You gave me what you thought I deserved. A big house. A car. Dinners with your clients like I was some trophy. But you never saw me. Not really. I looked around the basement. The gym equipment. The boxes of holiday decorations. The scent of blood soaking into the floor. Who the hell are you right now? She didn't answer. Instead, she walked past me, just like that, like I was the guest and this was her house. She laid the gun on the table like it was a glass of wine. Then she grabbed her phone from the washing machine and typed something quick. What are you doing? I asked. She looked at me cold. Texting someone to clean this up. I blinked. Clean what up? Brian, she said. What do you think? I'm not going to jail for him. He came at me. I defended myself. Defended yourself from your ex you invited over while I slept upstairs? She shrugged. Self-defense is a technical term. Doesn't matter what led up to it. Just what's in the report. Something inside me snapped. You're insane. No, she said, brushing her hair behind her ear. I'm practical. Then came the knock. 3 short taps at the basement door. We both froze. My heart pounded. She smiled. That'll be Mark. Who the hell is Mark? She started walking upstairs, not looking back. Someone who owes me a favor. Stay down here. He doesn't like surprises. But I didn't stay. I followed her up those stairs. I wasn't about to sit quietly while she turned our home into a crime scene covered in lies and favors. She opened the door, and there stood a guy with slick back hair, leather gloves, and the eyes of someone who had cleaned up more than just spilled drinks in his life. He glanced at me. That him? Jessica nodded. He's fine. Just emotional. Mark looked at me, then at her. You said one body. Jessica smirked. Still one. If we do this right. He didn't laugh. Just walked past me like I didn't exist. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I realized something deeper than betrayal was happening here. Jessica didn't just cheat. She was hiding a side of herself that I had never seen. And she was about to drag me deeper into her darkness. Mark walked into the basement like he'd done this 100 times before. No hesitation. No shock. Just a quiet, surgical efficiency that made the hairs on my neck stand. His boots didn't even make a sound on the stairs. He passed by me like I was furniture and crouched next to Brian's body. Headshot, he asked without looking up. Jessica folded her arms. Close range. He grabbed me. I panicked. Pulled the trigger. Mark nodded, pulled on latex gloves from his coat pocket, and started checking Brian's pulse, as if there was any hope left. I stood there, halfway between rage and disbelief. My wife had not only cheated on me, but now she was casually coordinating a cleanup with a guy who looked like he moonlighted as a hitman. You've done this before? I asked him. He didn't answer. Jessica rolled her eyes. Don't act surprised, Ethan. People like him exist because people like you can't handle their own messes. I turned on her, voice low and dangerous. You mean the mess you made? Because I sure as hell didn't invite two men into our lives and our damn bed. Her expression didn't change. In fact, it got worse, smug, even. You want to know why I did it? She said, stepping closer. Because I was tired of being married to a man who thought paying the bills meant he didn't have to be present. You were always at work. Always just 5 more minutes or next weekend, babe. And every time I put on that red dress, you didn't even look up. I clenched my fists. So you decided to get your thrills by bringing strangers into our home like some neighborhood trash? Mark finally glanced up. You two need a minute, or can I get to work? Jessica turned and waved him off. Go ahead. He didn't wait for permission. Just got to it, dragging Brian's body toward the basement door with shocking ease, like he was moving a rug instead of a corpse. My stomach twisted. I had seen a lot in my life, but never anything like this. Jessica poured herself a glass of wine, as if we weren't standing in the middle of a crime scene. I'm calling the cops, I muttered, reaching for my phone. She didn't flinch. Just sipped the wine and said, No, you're not. The hell I'm not. Because, she said slowly, if you do, you go down with me. It's your gun. Your house. Your fingerprints are probably on the basement doorknob, the sheets, maybe even the damn body. You think I care? I snapped. I'd rather go down than live another second pretending this marriage is real. She walked right up to me, face inches from mine. Then let's both burn. But don't think you'll come out of this clean. You let this happen, Ethan. You created this life. I just stopped pretending it was enough. I stared at her, the weight of 1,000 choices crashing down at once. I should have left months ago when the silence between us grew louder than the arguments. I should have seen the late nights, the fake smiles, the way she looked at her phone more than she looked at me. But I didn't. Because I trusted her. Because I believed in us. And now here I was, standing in my own house, with a woman who'd turned into someone I didn't recognize, and a stranger dragging a body into the night. Mark gave one final tug, then disappeared into the darkness outside. Jessica turned away and muttered, Now we move on. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Because something in me had just died, something I didn't even know I still had. But something else was born in its place. Cold. Focused. Dangerous. She thought she'd buried me under her betrayal. But I was just getting started. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of the corpse that had been dragged out of my basement, or because of the bloody stains still soaking into the carpet, or even because of the shattered version of Jessica sipping wine like she'd just hosted a dinner party. No. I stayed awake because something had shifted inside me. The man she married was gone. The man who begged, reasoned, forgave, made excuses. The man who bought her flowers after her cold silences. Who said, It's just a phase. That fool was dead. And what was left in his place? Someone capable of revenge. She was asleep on the couch, blanket pulled to her chin like a little girl who had just finished watching a horror movie, conveniently forgetting that she was the monster. I stared at her for a long time. Not with love. Not even with hate. Just with calculation. Because now I understood her game. And I was going to flip the board. Morning came like a slap to the face. She was already up, hair tied back, making coffee like nothing happened. Didn't sleep? She asked, voice casual. Nope, I replied. She slid a cup across the counter. We need to talk about the story. What we're telling people. I picked up the cup but didn't drink. Why would we tell anyone anything? Jessica raised a brow. Neighbors might have heard something. Tyler might press charges. You did knock his teeth in. Yeah, I said flatly. And I'll knock his jaw out if he opens his mouth again. She chuckled. You know, if you weren't so boring 90% of the time, that fire would have turned me on. I didn't respond. Because in that moment, I decided she wasn't just going to fall. She was going to shatter. And I wasn't going to raise a hand. I was going to let the truth do the work for me. Step 1. Evidence. While she was showering, I went through her phone. She was dumb enough to not change her password. That told me one thing: she didn't fear me. Not yet. I found text threads, photos, videos, not just of Tyler, not just Brian, at least 3 other guys. One of them? Our accountant. She was greedy, careless, arrogant, perfect. I transferred everything to a flash drive and locked it in my office drawer. Step 2. Protection. I changed the locks on the safe, removed my name from every shared card, and rerouted the cameras to a cloud I could access alone. She might try to play victim later. She might even try to run, but I'd have receipts. Step 3. The trigger. I needed something public, loud, devastating, and I already had it. Her birthday was in 2 weeks. She always threw a giant party, rented space, champagne, makeup artist, the whole deal. And this time, I'd let her go all out. I'd play the part of the loving husband, smile in pictures, toast to her health. Then, when everyone she lied to was watching, I dropped the truth like a grenade. Jessica thought she'd humiliated me, but she had no idea what real humiliation looked like. Later that evening, she sauntered in wearing yoga pants and holding a glass of wine. You've been quiet today. Processing. Something like that, I said. She leaned against the doorway, swirling her drink. Maybe after all this, we'll come out stronger. I stared at her. Maybe. She smiled. That smug, poisonous smile. Good. Let her enjoy her illusion. Let her believe she still held the cards. Because the truth was, she'd already lost. She just didn't know it yet. And when the fall came, it wouldn't just be a crash. It would be a symphony. The days that followed were almost peaceful, if you ignored the fact that I was living with a woman who had turned our home into a slaughterhouse of trust, loyalty, and decency. Jessica acted like nothing had happened. She hummed around the house, posted smiling selfies, and even tried to kiss me one morning like we were still high school sweethearts. I turned my head, and she brushed it off with a laugh. She'll come around, she muttered to herself. She thought I was broken, defeated. She didn't know I was just patient. Each day, I laid another brick in the trap. I copied more files, screenshots, audio recordings of her phone calls she didn't realize I was capturing. I had cameras now, tiny ones, tucked in corners of the living room, bedroom, even her bathroom mirror. What I learned wasn't just shocking. It was surgical. Jessica wasn't just unfaithful, she was running a web. She used her body like a tool, luring men in, borrowing money, trading favors, sleeping her way into secrets. I wasn't the only one she fooled. There were married men, powerful ones. Some even sent her bank transfers disguised as consulting fees. And I gathered it all. Because when she fell, she'd take her whole fake kingdom down with her. A week before her birthday party, she tossed an invitation on the counter. Everyone's coming, she beamed. Even your sister confirmed. I didn't answer. Just sipped my coffee. She came around the counter and ran her hand down my back. I'm glad we're healing. I know I messed up, Ethan. But we're better now, right? I met her eyes. Sure. That one word was all she needed. She grinned and walked off, humming again. But behind that smile was a woman who thought she still controlled the narrative. And behind my silence was a man holding a ticking bomb. On the night of the party, everything was perfect. Jessica wore a silk dress that looked like it cost half my salary. Her makeup was flawless. Her laughter echoed through the hall as guests poured in: old friends, business partners, even her parents. She gave speeches, thanked everyone, toasted to new beginnings. And then, just as dessert was being served, I stepped onto the stage with a mic in my hand. Jessica looked surprised, but she smiled, like she thought I was about to recite some poetic tribute to her love. The room fell silent. I tapped the mic once. Before we end the night, I have a small gift for my beautiful wife. Everyone clapped politely. Jessica looked smug. I clicked a remote in my pocket. The screen behind me flickered on. A text thread appeared. Can't wait to see you tonight, winking face, from someone labeled Tyler Jim. Whispers filled the room. I clicked again. A video played. Jessica in our bedroom. Her voice saying, "Ethan? He's just comfortable. You're exciting." She stood slowly. "Ethan, stop it." One more click. Bank records. Audio clips. Photos. By the time the third minute played, people were walking out. Her father looked like he'd been shot. Her boss was on his phone, probably texting legal. Jessica rushed the stage. "You bastard," she shrieked. I stepped aside. "You wanted attention, right? Here it is." She slapped me hard. Cameras flashed. Gasps filled the room. I smiled. "That's assault, by the way. Recorded and witnessed." She looked around and saw what I wanted her to see. Nothing. No supporters. No allies. Just a room of people who now knew exactly who she was. And I walked away. Calm. Whole. Because revenge didn't need blood. It needed truth. The morning after the party, the silence in the house was deafening. No coffee brewing. No humming. No clinking of wine glasses. Just Jessica sitting on the floor by the fireplace in her crumpled dress from last night. Makeup smeared like the mask she could never put back on. She didn't look at me when I walked in. She didn't have to. I'd already won. Her phone lay shattered on the tile, the battery ripped out like she thought destroying the device would erase the mess it contained. But it was all backed up. Every text, every video, every disgusting secret she thought she had hidden so well. "Get up," I said, not even looking at her. She didn't move. I said, "Get up. I want you out by noon." Jessica finally raised her eyes, and for the first time in years, they were completely empty. Not angry. Not seductive. Just hollow. "You ruined me," she whispered. "No," I said calmly, "you ruined yourself. I just showed everyone the footage." She stood slowly, her voice turning bitter. "You think people care? They'll forget. They always do. A few months, and this will be old news. You don't get it, do you?" I said, stepping closer. "This wasn't about the crowd. This was about you. The queen of manipulation. The girl who thought she could burn everyone and never get burned herself. Now look at you. No job. No credibility. No place in this house. And soon, I pulled out a folded paper from my back pocket. No husband. I tossed the divorce papers onto the table. Jessica stared at them like they were made of fire. "You're bluffing. I already filed." She blinked, her lips parting slightly. "What about the assets?" "All frozen. Joint accounts are gone. Anything purchased under my name? Reclaimed. My lawyer's good. Yours can play catch-up if you find one who hasn't seen the videos." She lunged forward and grabbed the papers, her voice rising. "You think you can just erase me? Like I never existed? You erased yourself the moment you brought another man into our bed. That moment you whispered to him while I was unconscious in the same damn room. I stepped forward until we were inches apart. You could have just left. You could have been honest. But you chose cruelty." Her face cracked. Not a single tear, but her hands trembled. She knew. This was it. No more safety nets. No more blind Ethan to fool and abuse. I walked away. "You'll regret this," she shouted after me. "No," I said, without turning around. "You'll regret not leaving me when you had the chance." I met with my lawyer that afternoon. The evidence I'd collected made everything easy. The adultery. The financial manipulation. The false narrative she spun. She'd lose the house. The cars. The social standing she adored. She thought she could weaponize shame. But shame only works on people with something to hide. I had nothing to hide anymore. Later that week, I found out Jessica had tried to crash at her sister's place. Didn't last long. Apparently, her sister's husband was on the text threads too. Another one of Jessica's fun little secrets. Now she was hotel hopping, trying to keep her story straight while the whole world watched her spiral. I didn't smile at the news. It wasn't joy I felt. It wasn't even justice. It was freedom. For the first time in years, I was breathing air that wasn't poisoned by lies. And it felt like starting over. But there was one last thing I had to do. One last visit. To a place I never thought I'd return. And when I stepped into that basement, stood in the same corner where Brian's blood once pooled, I didn't feel anger. I felt clarity. She tried to bury me down here. But instead, she buried herself. Standing in the basement again felt like facing a ghost, not Brian's, not Mark's, not anyone physical. Just the phantom of who I used to be. This room had been my gym, my retreat, a place I went to clear my head, escape stress. Now, it was a graveyard, not just of a body, but of a marriage, a life, an identity. I wasn't the man who built this house anymore. That guy had been torn down, piece by piece, by the woman who swore to protect him. And still, part of me asked, How did I not see it? The signs were everywhere. Jessica's coldness, her sudden phone paranoia, the fake smiles that didn't reach her eyes. But I excused it all. I called it stress, routine, the ebb and flow of long relationships. Turns out, it was a countdown. And I just didn't hear the clock. 2 weeks after I served her the papers, I got a call from a blocked number. I let it ring. She texted next. "You think this is over? You embarrass me in front of everyone. Just remember, I know things too." I didn't reply. Empty threats from a woman who'd already drowned in her own lies. She sent 2 more texts. The third one said, "You made your move. Don't cry when I make mine." I forwarded everything to my lawyer. Let them handle it. I had nothing to hide, and Jessica had nowhere left to run. I started rebuilding my life. Slowly, quietly. I moved into a small apartment across town. Different neighborhood. New neighbors. No photos on the wall. Just peace. It was strange waking up without the constant dread of her mood swings or wondering who she was texting at midnight. I went back to the gym. Started journaling. Ate dinner without looking at 2 phones. I didn't realize how much of my time was spent managing chaos until the chaos was gone. People asked questions, of course. Friends, colleagues, even my sister. Some were supportive. Others weren't. Some thought I was cold for exposing Jessica publicly. Said I should have handled it privately. To them, I say this. She destroyed everything privately. I ended it publicly. That's balance. A month later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo of me and Jessica from our honeymoon, taped next to a burned-out match. It didn't scare me. It told me exactly where she still was, stuck in the ashes of what she tried to control. And I was moving forward. In therapy, I finally said it out loud. I didn't lose a wife. I lost a parasite. My therapist didn't flinch. Just nodded. "You're not angry anymore," she said. I wasn't. Because anger needs energy. And I wasn't wasting another second of energy on Jessica. If you're reading this and you've been in my shoes, if you've caught her whispering in the dark, lying through her teeth with a smile that used to melt you, let me leave you with this. Don't chase apologies from a liar. Don't seek closure from someone who only knows how to break things. Gather the truth. Expose it when you're ready. Then walk away. Let her live in the mess she made. Let her repeat the cycle with the next fool. You get to start over. Stronger. Smarter. Free. Because revenge isn't about hurting her. It's about healing you. And trust me, nothing makes her angrier than that.